Now, I'm delighted to say Cora Staunton is with us, who is now a former AFLW player. Cora, good morning to you. How are you?
Hi boys, how are things? I'm good.
How is retirement sitting with you now that it's been made public?
Yeah, it's fine. I suppose as you well know now, I made the announcement, or not the announcement yesterday, but I just made the decision before I left Australia at Christmas time. So yeah, it's kind of set well with me for a while now. So yeah, I'm probably just a little bit overwhelmed by all of the messages and calls and, social media messages that I've kind of got over the last kind of 24 hours. But yeah, no, it's sitting well with me, surely. As I said, I had my mind made up quite a long time ago, so I've had time to process it. Did you know this was going to be your last season heading into it? No, I didn't know heading into it. I suppose when the season was over, I kind of knew by that. I suppose our club over there is just going in a little bit of a different direction. We did an appointment of a new coach last year, which was obviously a little bit different. I had the same coach for the 5 years previous to that. The club are really gone back into a rebuilding phase and, bringing in a lot of youth and stuff like that. So, while they wanted me to stay on and probably, help nurture that youth, I knew probably the chances of, a premiership title were probably a little bit further away. And, I wasn't going to be in that long-term window to try and win it. So, I felt I kind of had give everything at that stage. And, I was just happy, to make my decision and not probably have to come home at Christmas time and being worried about having to get back training again in January. So, yeah, that element of it has certainly been nice, where I'm not out having to train and push myself really hard, 5, 6, 7 nights a week. Was there ever any thoughts about joining another team who might be potential contenders? I suppose I had contact from one or two teams, surely, that obviously had got wind. Most people didn't know that I was retiring, but I obviously had got wind, however they did. So I did have a couple of conversations, maybe 5, 6 weeks ago with them. But yeah, I'm very much, I'm very loyal to wherever I've come from. Obviously Mayo, Kenny Cunningham, and the Giants was like that as well. I knew if I was going to go to another club, it was probably just going to be for probably another year. And, unless, I knew I was probably going to go and get the best out of myself, I probably just wanted to stay a one club player, which, I'm glad I did.
It allows you time now, Cora, I guess, to reflect on the 5 years and the achievements you've had down in Australia. And when you went over in 2018, you were the first. There's a glut of Irish players, female players over there now, which is amazing to see. But you were the leader in that regard. So was that a pressure that you sat lightly with, that you were able to kind of deal with, I guess, because when you're the first one in anything, it's difficult.
At the time, life was very hectic at the time. I suppose I went straight over. We had competed in an All-Ireland final with Mayo, lost that to Dublin, and then we went on a really good club run. I went out to Australia in the middle of the club run for a trial, and then we went on to win the Club All-Ireland that year, and I flew to Australia 2 days after that. So it was very much a whirlwind. I didn't really have time to think about it because all my energies were in either Mayo or Kenny Cunningham. And I suppose, when I went out there the first month, certainly I was like, this is going to be tough. Like, I'm going to have to give it my all. And I suppose then over the last number of years, and particularly probably in the last 2 years, the amount of attention it's got, on TV here. And I suppose the first year I went out there, I had a documentary crew follow me, and that was showed. And I suppose the interest kind of grew from there. The girls could see, what life was really like out there. And obviously it was being shown on TV over here. So, it's just crazy. Even this morning reading, I think there's 3 Tipperary girls that have just 2 gone to Geelong and 1 gone to North Melbourne. The numbers are just going to be huge now. I'd imagine by the end of the draft day, which is the 4th of April, that the numbers will be certainly in the 30 plus girls that will play in the league next year. And that being said, then, in the club competition over there's girls moving over there to try and get an opportunity. I think in the VFL over there's probably about 15 girls playing it. So, it's huge. And I suppose, from when I was there the first year to see that the amount of numbers now that are coming out and the amount of contact I get from girls, from their parents, as young as kind of 16, 17, wanting to know how can they, basically get there. What do they need to do when they're, the draft age of 18 or when they're finished school? How can they get out there? And, it was only last week I met with a mom and her daughter and we spoke through what she might need to do to get there.
If there was any doubt on how physical the sport is down in Australia. Like, we've seen you with a few shiners over the years, no doubt. And I think I remember you saying in one of your columns, or maybe it was on air with ourselves on a Saturday panel at one stage, that you've been told that you play your best footy when you're pissed off. But I'm sure that's something that you kind of channel into such a physical sport. You kind of need to be up and on edge for every single game.
Yeah, it is a very physical sport, and I suppose, I suppose that's, people do. It's only when you're trying to reflect and people ask, how are you motivated? And I suppose that when I look back, that's probably the most way I've been motivated throughout my career is, when people doubt you and, probably say that you're not up to something. And I suppose that came with me in my leg break a couple of years ago. People, doubted at 37 and a quadruple leg break that you were probably, going to retire and not come back to the sport. And that kind of, people pissed me off around that, and that was really my motivation, just to come back and show them anything's possible. And I was lucky enough, I came back from that injury very well, and played 3 seasons after that. So you need to be really up and about. It is a very physically demanding game. I often do watch the rugby players here and see on how they get up on a Sunday morning or a Monday morning after a big game, and that's how you kind of feel. And again, it's all position based over there. There's some positions there that you're probably not going to get as hard hitting, but there's certain positions. And when I was there, I loved the physicality. Probably spend more time getting scans and stuff. Come home probably with 5 or 6 different breaks. But the body is still good and it held up for the time that I was out there.
It's amazing, like a quadruple leg break is.
I know. You did a piece with Andy Lee a couple of years ago where you kind of went into detail on it. It's just phenomenal. What was it that pissed you off that people were saying that helped to drive the motivation?
Yeah, I suppose it was just a couple of people. I suppose this was very early days. I was probably in hospital at the time, and kind of my first couple of days back at the club. So it would have been probably, I'd say maybe I haven't even 2 weeks done at this stage, and people were like, oh no, they'd obviously all seen the x-rays and stuff, and the x-ray I think filtered around the whole medical team in both the men's and women's side of the club, and they were like, no, sports people don't come back from this. It's very rare, and if they do, they're young. I suppose, just a couple of comments, from high up people in the Giants at the time. They know who they are because I've spoken to them since, and they were very much like, oh no, just look after your health, and it's going to be very difficult to come back from this, and it's okay if you don't, and it's okay if you retire, and just comments, small little comments, and at times the comments I was probably making them more out than not. I slagged my coach, who was my coach there for a long time. He made a comment on the way home after a 2-week appointment that I had after getting my stitches out that, I was just saying thanks, for organising the surgeon and how good he was. And he was like, we'll see how good he was, in October, November. And, that was probably 7-8 months post-surgery. And I was like, I know how good he was, I'll be back. So it was that kind of just small things I needed to take. I needed to have that little bit of motivation and drive, because when you're in rehab on your own 6 times a week, 4 or 5 hours a day, you need something to, push you, especially when the days are hard and they're challenging. And, the days that I was probably learning how to walk again and learning how to hop or whatever it might be, they're challenging, and you need some little bit of extra driver in you. And I suppose, I probably took them from them comments.
Are you going to take up golf to fulfill the... What are you going to do now to match that?
I've never actually played golf, bar a tiny bit of pitch and putt. And if you see me playing that, I'm quite bad at it. I'm not a patient person at all, so I can't imagine the game of golf would suit me. I don't know. I'll tip away playing a bit of club football. Obviously I'm involved with Galway Camogie at the moment, and I suppose that's an area I went into, in December time. I got a phone call from Cathal Murray wondering would I come in, and I met him, and I just didn't know if that was something. I was like, I don't really know anything about Camogie. I said, I don't know any of your players or anything like that. And he was like, no, come in and see. And, I've been in there for the last kind of 3.5 months, and I'm absolutely loving it. The longer I'm there, the more I'm enjoying it. I'm working with, 35 girls, and it's a great experience. I'm doing everything in Anthem with them, from a little bit of coaching up with our forward group, from individual work with the team, to supporting Cathal and the rest of the backroom team. So I'm really enjoying that, buzz. And, we were down in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on Sunday, and we had to beat Cork to get into a league final. And I'm the, the one that's getting really into it, jumping up and down and on the sideline, when we get our 1-point victory. So, I feel that's replacing it a little bit at the moment. But I suppose club football will replace it for now. But I am really enjoying not having to do them the extra training sessions. I was never the most aerobically built person, so I had to train hard to keep fit all the time. And I suppose I'm not missing that, having to push myself maybe at 8 or 9 o'clock at night to go out and do a running program and do that 5 or 6 times a week. So, but I'm certainly training in a way I don't have to go to that really dark place when you train that you have to go to.
And is the door closed on Intercounty?
Oh yeah, that door closed long ago. God, I'm retired from Intercounty now. Probably I've gone into 5 or 6 seasons at this stage. Yeah, no, as I said, I play club football, and I haven't really. While I've played little bits with them over the past few years, I haven't given enough to them because I've obviously been away. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to playing a little bit of that. And as I said, doing work with Gog Camogie. I'm training with them. In every training session with them 3 or 4 times in the week. So yeah, I'm kept busy with that, and obviously doing the punditry work as well. So there's other bits coming down the line, but yeah, between AFL, Gaelic football, and everything, I suppose I've my body and my mind has probably given a lot to it over the last 2 or 3 decades. And geez, I don't want to say 3 decades, but probably 3 decades at this stage.
Was the plan always to be in Australia for that duration of time, Cora? Like, would you describe yourself as a home bird? Did you like coming home? Did you miss Ireland, or were you quite happy down there?
Oh, you know what? It was so funny, Shane. Every time I went out, so every year I went out. When I went out first, I thought I was only going for 1 season, but every year I went out, I found it really hard to leave home. And then every time I had to come home, or come back for club season, or the season was done down there, I found it very hard to leave Australia. So I had mixed emotions going, either direction. No, I'll certainly. I'm probably more of a home bird. I always see myself settling home, but that's not to say, I will take a couple of visits. I'll try and get out to Australia at least once every year, if not 18 months. Certainly, I have a lot of good friends out there. I really love the game. Hoping maybe to do a little bit with the AFL down the line as well. So. It is a sport. I still watch it now. The men's season just started 2 weeks ago, and yeah, I'm the one up in the middle of the night watching, the Giants play or whatever, and other games, that the Irish guys are involved. I watched Conor McKinnon in his first 2 games at Brisbane 9. So, Dara Joyce, obviously debuted for them at the weekend. So I'm still really interested in the game and how it works and stuff. And, I have massive contacts over there. So, yeah, I'll be based at home, but certainly I like to get out over and back to Australia at least once a year if I can. I'm
sure you're back in perfect time to see Mayo win the All-Ireland this year. It's worked out well.
Yeah, I'm back in proper time for Mayo to win the All-Ireland now. If I could get out to see the Ireland women in the World Cup, that's my only regret, that I retired probably a year too soon. The Irish women played their first game in a stadium that's walking distance from where we train in Sydney Olympic Park. So I've been in the stadium many times. So yeah, that's probably the only disappointment, that if I could have got out to watch them certainly play, because as I said, when the Irish come out there, I've watched the Irish rugby sevens numerous times when they've been out there. It's so good, and to see Ireland women against Australia in a packed ANZ, as it used to be known, stadium that can hold up to 90,000, it's going to be something. But yeah, as I said, I hope to get back and over to Australia as often as I can.
Cora, it's an absolutely incredible Irish sporting life. Congratulations on putting together multiple brilliant careers that would have been Hall of Fame in one sport, let alone 2 or even 3 if you include the club. So congratulations. Brilliant having you on this morning, and thanks a million for joining us.
No bother, Jared. Thanks for having me on.
It's the absolute legend Cora Staunton there, who's retired from the AFLW.